Chapter 1627, Mission Countdown, 8. The moment the grim-looking king saw Enchanting, a smile appeared on his face. He naturally stood up and looked at the person who had made the greatest contribution to their Supreme League kingdom. Tang, these few days have been hard on you. When we've eliminated the Hughes kingdom, we need to press on and conquer the next few kingdoms as soon as possible, the king said with a smile. The subsequent route of attack was already displayed on the sand table in front of him. As long as Enchanting was around, the Supreme League kingdom would never be defeated. At that moment, the king did not look like the same cruel person who had just ordered an entire kingdom to be slaughtered. Your Majesty, you ordered the citizens of Hughes' kingdom to be slaughtered. Enchanting spoke bluntly as she looked at the king, who was prepared to realize his ambitions. The king was taken aback. From the corner of his eye, he glanced at Joseph, who had entered with Enchanting, and a malicious look flashed across his face. Tang, the Hughes kingdom betrayed us. Have you heard of the saying, if you are not one of us, your heart is not with us? Enchanting did not intend to become overly involved in the matters of this world, but she definitely would not condone the massacre of an entire kingdom. Death and injury were inevitable in battle, but she could not accept ordinary citizens being dragged into it. Enchanting said, since your Majesty's goal is to unite the entire mainland, everyone in this mainland will become your subject. How can you say they are not one of you? Enchanting's words struck the king. If your Majesty wishes to unite the entire kingdom, then he must treat all the citizens in this mainland as his own subjects. Soon, you will be king over them all. Enchanting did not urge the Supreme League king to rule compassionately. He had never been a benevolent ruler. The king's expression flickered. Enchanting's words struck a nerve within him. Since they are your Majesty's subjects, why do you need to slaughter them? Enchanting asked. The king was silent for a moment. The corner of his mouth twitched with amusement when he finally grasped what Enchanting meant. Tang, you're right. But if they harbor any traitorous thoughts, you will soon be the only monarch in this mainland. Anyone who submits to you will have a life of ease. Whoever opposes you will die. If they can be assured of an easy life, why would they risk their lives? No commoner hopes for war. Enchanting said with a smile. The fight for power was always a game played by the leaders. To the commoners, it made no difference who governed them. As long as the leader allowed them to have a life of ease, they would love him. The king sank into deep thought. He had ruled with an iron fist. Even if he conquered a country, he would eliminate all the subjects in the kingdom at the first opportunity, both to prevent the people from rebelling and to ensure his absolute sovereignty. But Enchanting's words had shaken the king's thinking. If someone else had said it, he would have scoffed at the idea. But when Enchanting said it, it was a completely different matter. Tang, perhaps you are right. I could try it. The king nodded. He was happy to listen to Enchanting's opinions. Everyone breathed more freely when they saw that the king had relented. Right now, the king probably listened only to the Lord Protector. Chapter 1628, Mission Countdown, 9. The king did, in fact, take Enchanting's advice and rescinded his chilling order to slaughter everyone. Now, all the kingdoms on this mainland were terrified of Enchanting. The moment they saw Enchanting on the battlefield, they fled as swiftly as possible. Some of them simply raised the white flag in surrender. Enchanting also took the opportunity to suggest that to avoid further warfare, the king should accept any kingdom that voluntarily surrendered and submitted to the Supreme League kingdom. All they had to do was disarm and remove their royal family. Then, the Supreme League kingdom could take over straight away without needing to fight any further. The king fundamentally agreed to Enchanting's suggestions. When this was implemented, many kingdoms wanted to surrender. However, the Supreme League King's cruelty made them uneasy and caused them to hesitate. Fortunately, once the first country tried it and was not slaughtered by the Supreme League Kingdom, all the other countries saw a ray of hope. More and more countries voluntarily chose to yield. They would rather submit to the Supreme League Kingdom than face a monster like Enchanting on the battlefield. Enchanting's suggestion swiftly ended the war that would otherwise have lasted many years. The Supreme League Kingdom was the greatest beneficiary and controlled the entire mainland. Because the war ended early, the people could finally stop worrying about the cruelties of war, and many soldiers were saved from a tragic death on the battlefield. The Supreme League King's disposition seemed to change as well. He was much more benign towards the countries that surrendered. The other countries also heard that it was the Supreme League Kingdom's powerful protector who had pacified this predatory monarch. Many of them were grateful to Enchanting. The Supreme League Kingdom's unification plan caused the royal family of every kingdom to lose their position and privileges. This reduced the pressure among the royal families on this mainland. Unification had its benefits. The bishop, who had mistaken Enchanting for a white magician, and who was seeking an opportunity to thrive among the kingdoms, was stunned when he finally saw the legendary, most powerful kingdom protector on the day that the kingdoms were united. Isn't that the white magician who had vanished? How did she become the kingdom protector? When the Supreme League Kingdom accomplished the feat of unification, Enchanting finally finished her mission in this world. At the banquet to celebrate the unification, Enchanting left the world with the god of nature. She did not know that shortly after she left, the source of magic on this mainland, which had been sealed for over 1,000 years, re-emerged. Because the entire mainland was unified and the Supreme League King had taken Enchanting's advice to show clemency, he could gather all the powers in the mainland to study the source of magic. This allowed this mainland, which had waned for a long time, to once again welcome a new era. And the kingdom protector who had precipitated the unification of this mainland suddenly vanished and was passed into legend. When Enchanting returned to this mainland again, she would never have imagined it would become a world surrounded by magic. After leaving the two-star constellation, Enchanting returned to the illusory void again. Only then did the god of nature crisply fling 2,000 points at Enchanting. However, according to the rules, Enchanting could only use these 2,000 points the next time she entered the illusory void. Now, Enchanting could only use the 1,000 points she had obtained last time. Chapter 1629, Star Ring 1. This time, Enchanting's power had not advanced much in the two-star constellation, but her inner energy had undergone a qualitative leap. Enchanting opened the star pavilion and prepared to select a suitable prize for herself. There were innumerable treasures in the star pavilion. There was a dazzling array of divine weapons and elixirs. But Enchanting did not need these. She had not managed to advance to a new realm in the two-star constellation. However, what made Enchanting more anxious was that the martial arts championship was only a few months away. She must advance her abilities as much as possible within these few months. Although divine weapons were wonderful, many of them could only be used after attaining a certain cultivation realm. Besides the fact that Enchanting had not yet achieved that kind of realm, even if she could use it, she would not dare to wield this divine weapon even if she took it. An innocent person in possession of treasure was considered guilty. If others found out that she had a divine weapon like that, they would try to kill her. So, Enchanting focused her attention on finding something that would increase her abilities. There were many elixirs that could increase her abilities, but their price was exorbitant, and Enchanting did not have enough points to obtain them. After looking at many treasures, a little ring caught Enchanting's eye. Star Ring. When Enchanting read the ring's name, its description caught her attention. The star ring allowed its wearer to pass through any world in the 10-star constellations. It also made its wearer invisible. Once a person put it on, it would hide the person's form and aura. It could only be used within the constellation worlds, and its effects lasted for 7 days. Also, the star ring could only be used once. Travel through the 10-star constellation worlds. Enchanting felt an inner jolt. She could not help but recall the 9-star constellation she had visited briefly. The living things there were too powerful. However, if she could enter invisibly and exercise some caution, it would definitely be the most suitable place for her to cultivate. Enchanting immediately exchanged 800 points for the star ring. She then exchanged the remaining 200 points for an elixir that could accelerate her cultivation speed. Enchanting spent the 1,000 points. The god of nature, who had transformed himself into a radiant body, maintained a long stunned silence when he saw the 2 items Enchanting had obtained with her points. If she uses the star ring to enter the constellation world, he would be unable to go along with her. How annoying! Why waste your points? If you want to go to the 9-star constellation, I can bring you there. The god of nature grumbled. No need, Enchanting was no fool. If the god of nature activated the constellation world and she entered, she could only exit after completing her mission. Who knew what kind of mission the 9-star constellation contained? The god of the nature seemed rather grumpy, and he maintained an annoyed silence. Enchanting did not want to waste any time. She put the star ring on her finger, then picked up the little white tiger, and flew into the 9-star constellation world. Enchanting passed through the constellation entrance, and after a dizzying moment, returned to the 9-star constellation world. But this time, the 9-star constellation world she entered was completely different from the one she visited the last time. Now, all was pitch black and was filled with the aura of death. Where were the birds and flowers she had seen earlier? The only thing that remained unchanged was the powerful spirit energy that drifted through the air. Enchanting could not help but recall what the god of nature had said. The constellation worlds changed every second. The 9-star constellation world she had just entered was completely different from the one she had visited last time. Chapter 1630, Star Ring, 2. It was twilight, and the sun could not be seen. Everything was covered by the fog, and the air was permeated with the aura of death. An eerie sound suddenly rang out of the dusk. Someone was moving between another person's sutures, and there was a bone-piercing chill. Why does this world feel eerier than ever? The little white tiger squinted as it tried to see its surroundings clearly, but the fog blocked its view. The ground beneath their feet started to shake gently. Enchanting immediately activated the space ring, and she and the little white tiger immediately vanished on the spot. Just as Enchanting hit herself, a huge claw descended from the sky and crashed into the ground she had been standing a moment ago. The claw was so gigantic, it was dozens of meters wide. When the claw rose up again, a huge crater, which was several meters deep, was formed on the ground. The cry of an unknown creature rang out from above their heads. The owner of the giant claw advanced step by step. Every step it took made the ground shake. After Enchanting picked up the little white tiger and made herself invisible, she hid herself and watched the slowly vanishing giant claw. Under the cover of the fog, she could not clearly see what the creature looked like, but the pressure surrounded them and only slowly dissipated when the strange creature left. It was the same 9-star constellation. Even if the world had been exchanged for another one, it was no less dangerous. Enchanting silently congratulated herself on exchanging her points for a star ring that could make her invisible. She did not have the ability to explore this world. Fortunately, she quickly found something like a cave and could peacefully cultivate there. Some unknown animal had lived in this cave. Many bones that were half buried in the mud were piled up inside the cave, but the cobwebs outside the cave showed that no living thing had passed through there for a long time. Even the cobweb only held the corpses of spiders that had dried up long ago. Enchanting curled herself up and hid there to cultivate. Something like the wailing of wild beasts often came from outside the cave and reverberated in her ears. She sat cross-legged and emptied her mind to cultivate. The little white tiger crouched silently on her knee. It was now incredibly obedient. As long as it remained in contact with Enchanting, it would remain invisible, but if it left, it would become visible again. It would be in deep trouble if its aura leaked out. Enchanting had cultivated in the cave for a few days when she sensed the energy in her body slowly growing. When she made it flow through her meridian points, time seemed to blur. Only the water dripping from the roof of the cave repeatedly made soft noises. The minutes and seconds flowed. As the colossal amount of spirit energy rushed into Enchanting, her cultivation realm rose continually. Under this world's tempering effect, Enchanting's power reached the peak of the third heaven of the heavenly venerate realm by the sixth evening. She was just a step away from the fourth heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. But Enchanting was stumped by this tiny gap. The further she progressed, the slower her cultivation realm advanced. Her powers would undergo a qualitative change after the fifth heaven, but based on her current speed, Enchanting would need many more days to break through to the fourth heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. However, she only had a little time left in this world. Chapter 1631, Star Ring, 3. Enchanting picked up the little white tiger and stood up. She was about to use the last of her time here to find a wider space and wait for the constellation gate to open. But when they exited the cave, the fog that filled the air suddenly changed subtly. When they breathed in the air, there was a strange, burning sensation. If Enchanting's cultivation realm had not advanced, the air would have burnt her lungs when she breathed it in. What's the matter with this world? Enchanting was puzzled. At that moment, a thunderous drumming sound rang out. The drumming noise was so loud it hurt their eardrums. Enchanting only listened for a moment, and the vibrations caused two tiny cracks to form at the corners of her ears. Her chest ached from the vibration of the drumming. Boom! A huge black shadow slowly emerged from the mist and drew closer to them. Every time it advanced a little, it made a clear ringing sound like that of a brass bell. Enchanting hurriedly picked the little white tiger and hid, only to see the gigantic shadow slowly pass near them. The shadow was so tall they could not see the top of it at a glance. It seemed to be dragging something along and moved very slowly. Enchanting soon saw that a shattered bronze statue was being dragged along on the ground. The bronze statue was several hundred meters in size. The outer layer of bronze that covered it was completely smashed. Trickles of black fluid seeped from under the bronze layer, and they could vaguely see something flesh-like wriggling under the bronze layer. The clear ringing sound like that of a brass bell was caused by the bronze layer bumping against the ground. The bronze statue suddenly came to a stop a few hundred meters away from Enchanting. The head, which was covered with cracks, faced Enchanting. The dull copper eyes seemed to look straight through Enchanting's disguise. As she looked at it, the huge cracked mouth suddenly split open slightly in a sinister smile. Puff! A huge head lowered itself through the fog. It looked like neither man nor beast and was very peculiar. It abruptly opened its huge mouth and chewed on the bronze statue's head. Large quantities of black liquid sprayed from the injured areas, and a large proportion of the bronze statue's head was immediately bitten off. What on earth is that? What is that bronze statue? And what is that monster chewing on the bronze statue? Enchanting was filled with questions, but her body was abruptly seized by a force, and the constellation gates suddenly formed between her. The sparkles were especially conspicuous in the dark surroundings. The monster chewing on the bronze statue sensed the gleam of light and suddenly raised its head. The mouth filled with bits of meat and black blood suddenly let out an earth-shattering roar. Alarmed, Enchanting did not dare to stay any longer. She hurriedly picked up the little white tiger and rushed through the constellation entrance. As the constellation entrance closed, Enchanting saw an enormous claw, large enough to cover the sky, hurtling towards her. Boom! The instant the giant claw descended, the constellation gate suddenly disappeared. When she came to her senses, Enchanting realized she was in the illusory void. The radiant body of the god of nature was wriggling about indolently. The radiant body noticed that Enchanting had returned, but it seemed to have made an interesting discovery, and it circled Enchanting. Enchanting saw that the radiant body was looking behind her. She turned involuntarily and saw that her shoulder had somehow become stained with a patch of black. Chapter 1632, Fight 1. It looked as though some black blood from the bronze statue had splattered onto her while it was being gnawed on. Enchanting had not noticed it before, but now she felt a burning sensation on her shoulder where the black blood had spattered on her. She tore the clothing around her shoulder off. A palm-sized imprint appeared on her lily-white shoulder, looking as if it had been inscribed there. But it only briefly appeared before vanishing. Enchanting touched the area carefully, but there was no sensation. Her body did not feel any different. What was that? Enchanting frowned. The world in the 9-star constellation this time was quite interesting. The radiant body seemed to have no intention of answering Enchanting's question. It had seen enough, so it flew away. The radiant body wanted to know if Enchanting intended to enter the next constellation world, but Enchanting immediately refused. She bade farewell to the radiant body and then left the illusory void. She had a strange feeling about the inscription that had briefly appeared on her body. She had spent a considerable amount of time in the 2-star constellation this time, but when she emerged, she was startled to find that a month had gone past in the outside world. She had spent much more time than in the 1-star constellation world. If she had not entered the 9-star constellation to cultivate for 7 days, this month would have been utterly wasted. Time in the constellation worlds flowed differently compared to the external world, but no one could be sure what the difference between the time in the two worlds was. Fortunately, Enchanting had only just entered Taiyuan Valley, and her abilities were mediocre, so she did not attract any attention. Her month-long disappearance went almost unnoticed. Enchanting returned to her room to change her clothes and got ready to go out and look for something to eat, but as she passed the central square, she heard a disturbance. She looked up and saw that several of the youths who usually hung out with Jiang Xiaobai had formed part of a crowd. Enchanting. A youth who was hurrying in that direction was taken aback when he saw Enchanting. A month ago, Jiang Xiaobai often went around with Enchanting, so they recognized her. However, after not seeing her for a month, they were surprised to suddenly meet her now. Enchanting glanced at the youth and recognized him as Jiang Xiaobai's friend. You're here just in time. Today is going to be fun. Let's go, ITLL, broaden your horizons. The youth brooked no refusal and simply dragged Enchanting into the crowd. Two slender figures were fighting intensely in the center of the crowd. One of them was a youth who frequently hung out with Jiang Xiaobai. Enchanting had met him a few times. His name was Jiang Yixing. Jiang Yixing was fighting with ease. His handsome face was smiling. As his opponent fought, he saw an opening and seized the opportunity to land a punch, forcing the other youth's head to the ground. When they saw that Jiang Yixing had won, the youths who usually trailed after Jiang Xiaobai immediately cheered. Jiang Yixing saw that the youth he had forced to the ground looked resentful. He smiled and said, "Your abilities are so poor, you can't even put up a good fight. Is there anyone among you who can fight? Call Jiang Yenyun. I'll spar with him." Jiang Yixing's abilities were extraordinary. Among his companions, his abilities were second only to that little monster. The youth whom Jiang Yenyun had forced to the ground was part of Jiang Yenyun's clique. Chapter 1633, Fight 2. The martial arts championship was imminent. Most of the youths in Taiyuan Valley formed cliques, and Jiang Yixing was in the same clique as the little monster while the defeated youth was in Jiang Yanyan's clique. Their abilities were the most outstanding in Taiyuan Valley, and their followers were naturally equally ready to spar. A month ago, the small monster had left with an elder on a mission and was not in the valley for a while. During that time, Jiang Yixing's abilities had grown quickly. He wanted to break Jiang Yanyan's momentum before the martial arts championship began. The moment Jiang Yixing issued his challenge, a burly youth emerged from the crowd. He had an arrogant air, and his lips were twisted in a disdainful sneer. He cocked his head on one side and looked at Jiang Yixing, who was filled with self-confidence. Jiang Yixing, you want to fight Elder Brother Yun? You'll have to beat me first. Elder Brother Yun doesn't have time to play with you. Jiang Yixing looked at the newcomer. Jiang Yiran. Jiang Yiran was in the top ranks of Taiyuan Valley. He was a highly talented youth, and among Jiang Yanyan's followers, his abilities were second only to Jiang Yanyan. The youth whom Jiang Yixing had defeated clambered to his feet, still clutching his head. He stood guiltily in front of Jiang Yiran. Elder Brother Yiran. Jiang Yiran glanced at the youth, whose head was all swollen from the beating, and grimaced disdainfully. He slapped the youth's head and shoved him aside. You're useless. The sight of you makes me sick. Get lost. The youth who had been shoved aside backed away, quivering. He did not dare to say a word. Everyone knew that Jiang Yiran had a hot temper, and if he answered back, he would just get another thrashing. Jiang Yiran then looked at Jiang Yixing, and his lips curved in a raffish smile. How about that? After you've beaten me, you can talk about fighting Elder Brother Yun. If you can't even beat me, there's no point embarrassing yourself by fighting Elder Brother Yun. When the youths with Jiang Yixing saw Jiang Yiran's arrogant attitude, they cheered Jiang Yixing on to try to deflate his opponent. No problem, said Jiang Yixing. I can always look for Jiang Yanyan after I've beaten you. I like people like you who present themselves for a thrashing. Jiang Yiran casually cracked his knuckles with a clear popping noise. The two youths faced each other. Enchanting was standing on the sidelines, observing the situation. She had just arrived in Taiyuan Valley and was unsure about the state of affairs on both sides. Jiang Yixing, let's not bother with all that posturing. If we spoil anything here, the elders will nag at us. I heard your palm technique is pretty good, so why don't we play at that? Jiang Yiran said with a smile. The moment Jiang Yiran said that, the youths around Jiang Yixing cheered again. Jiang Yixing's palm technique has already broken through to the second heaven. Is this Jiang Yiran stupid? He actually wants to compare palm techniques with Jiang Yixing. Jiang Yiran has always been arrogant and full of himself. He despises everyone except for Jiang Yanyan. Now, he's about to be humiliated. Jiang Yixing naturally did not object. His goal was Jiang Yanyan. To him, Jiang Yiran was no more than an appetizer. Sure. Jiang Yiran smiled. Since I chose the technique, you can set the rules. Jiang Yixing said, we'll each deal one blow. Whoever can absorb the blow without moving will win. No problem. Jiang Yiran spread his hands and graciously agreed. With that, the atmosphere of a fight grew, and everyone fixed their eyes on the two, quietly waiting for an exciting match. Chapter 1634, Fight 3. Jiang Yixing was the first to move. His palm struck Jiang Yiran's shoulder with an explosive force. The aftershock rippled through the air, sending the crowd's hair flying. But Jiang Yiran did not budge. He simply absorbed the blow, then narrowed his eyes smugly, and said with a smile, no need to stand on ceremony. I can still take it. Jiang Yixing's expression changed. He had used his full force to deliver this blow. But Jiang Yiran just shrugged and said, "My turn." With that, Jiang Yiran stepped forward and casually hit Jiang Yixing's shoulder. The moment Jiang Yiran moved, Enchanting, who was standing in the crowd, could not help but frown. The moment the blow landed, Jiang Yixing's body shuddered. He tried to summon the strength to withstand the blow, but as he struggled, he felt blood rushing into his throat. He stumbled and moved back a step. Jiang Yiran laughed. When he looked at Jiang Yixing, who had retreated a step, the amusement in his eyes deepened. "You should be grateful. If elder brother Yun had dealt that blow, you would be lying on the ground right now." Jiang Yixing could sense his qi churning in his chest, and he was ashen. He thought that his abilities were among the best in the valley, but now... "What are you doing?" A cold voice suddenly rang in everyone's ears. Jiang Yiran, who had been smiling arrogantly, immediately wiped the cynical expression off his face when he heard the voice. He turned towards the voice, only to see a chilly-looking youth with an imposing air. He stood with his hands behind his back as he watched the farce. The youth did not say anything more, but he exerted great pressure on the surroundings with his aura. Elder brother Yun. Jiang Yiran, who had acted so arrogantly, froze when he saw this youth. This youth was Jiang Yenyun, currently the most powerful youth in Taiyuan Valley. The group of youths, who had encouraged Jiang Yixing to challenge Jiang Yenyun, were now stricken dumb when they saw Jiang Yenyun. Jiang Yenyun glanced expressionlessly at the crowd. His frosty gaze passed over them without seeming to stop on anyone before finally resting on Jiang Yiran. As Jiang Yenyun looked at him, Jiang Yiran broke into a cold sweat. "Waste of time," Jiang Yenyun said blandly and then turned to leave. Jiang Yiran secretly gulped before heaving a sigh of relief. But at that moment, Jiang Yixing suddenly spoke up. "Jiang Yenyun, I will challenge you before the martial arts championship." Jiang Yenyun's footsteps paused, but his hands that were clasped behind his back remained motionless. Jiang Yiran, who was standing nearby, goggled. He knew that Jiang Yixing was a stubborn fellow and rather stupid, but he was getting too used to seeking out these fatal encounters. Jiang Yenyun slowly turned around, and his cold gaze swept across Jiang Yixing. It was just one look, but Jiang Yixing felt as if he had fallen into an icy dungeon. A bone-piercing chill filled him. At some point, Jiang Yenyun had begun emitting an oppressive aura, so Jiang Yixing sweated profusely just to force himself to meet Jiang Yixing's look. After a moment, Jiang Yixing looked away in embarrassment. He did not dare to look at Jiang Yenyun again. Jiang Yenyun also looked away and continued on his way without a word. At that moment, Jiang Yixing looked rather abashed, and the expressions of the other youths were even uglier. Chapter 1635, I Want Pay, 1. Only then did they realize that the gulf between Jiang Yenyun and themselves was an uncrossable abyss. After Jiang Yenyun left, a cynical smile reappeared on Jiang Yiran's face. He walked over to Jiang Yixing and patted his shoulder. "Boy, you have guts. I respect you as a man. You've lost, so according to the rules, you have to hand over your month's allowance." The disciples in Taiyuan Valley were not allowed to fight. However, these hot-blooded youths could not restrain themselves, so they privately made a rule that they would call their fighting sparring so that the elders would not scold them. The loser would have to hand over a month's allowance. The moment Jiang Yiran spoke, the faces of the crowd of youths turned ugly. Jiang Yixing had represented all of them in the fight. Now that they had lost, they would all have to pay up. Although they were reluctant, they had no choice but to follow the rules. They gritted their teeth and flung their month's allowance at Jiang Yiran. Jiang Yiran unabashedly swept it into his space ring. His gaze fell on Enchanting, who had not moved. Hand over your month's allowance. I'm in a hurry to go back and cultivate, Jiang Yiran said to Yi Qingtang casually. But Yi Qingtang was stunned. She had been dragged over here on her way elsewhere and did not know what was going on. Why did she have to pay up? Why should I hand it over? Jiang Yiran was amused by Yi Qingtang's innocent words. Why? Little girl, you've only just arrived in Taiyuan Valley. Hasn't Zhang Xiaobai taught you the rules here? Your side has lost, so of course, all of you must pay up. Jiang Yixing and the other youths on his side nodded. They were unwilling but had no choice. Yi Qingtang, just hand over your allowance. Yi Qingtang was silent. She understood that Jiang Yixing and the others were in the same clique as Zhang Xiaobai. She often hung out with Zhang Xiaobai in the past, so they had naturally assumed that she was one of them. So she also had to pay her share of tribute. But Yi Qingtang had no allowance. During her month in the two-star constellation world, she had missed the distribution of the allowances. She had thought of just handing over her allowance, but she had none. Hey, why are you so quiet? Don't waste my time. Hurry up. Jiang Yiran was growing impatient. I don't have any. Yi Qingtang sighed softly. She really had nothing to say about this turn of events. You don't have any. Now Jiang Yiran was really amused. Alright, you don't have to pay up. If you can beat me, I'll waive your share. How about that? The youths could not help but worry as they watched the situation unfold. Yi Qingtang had only just arrived in Taiyuan Valley. How could she possibly be a match for Jiang Yiran? Yi Qingtang, just hand over your allowance. If you have any issues, you can discuss it with Xiaobai when she gets back. This one of the valley's rules. You don't have a choice. Just hand it over. Yi Qingtang looked at the crowd that was trying to persuade her and sighed softly. She looked at Jiang Yiran and said, as long as I can beat you, I don't have to pay. Yi Qingtang's words shocked everyone. Jiang Yiran glowered at Yi Qingtang. He studied her and then suddenly laughed. Sure, I always keep my word. If you can beat me, I will not only waive your share, but I will waive all their shares too. How about that? Jiang Yiran thought that Jiang Yixing was rather stupid, but here was someone who was even more stupid. Jiang Yixing and the others goggled. Yi Qingtang, don't be rash. You can't beat him. Chapter 1636, I want pay, too. It's not too late to turn back. All you have to do is hand over your allowance, and you won't suffer physically. Jiang Yiran smiled as he looked at those who were trying to dissuade Yi Qingtang. That's not necessary. Yi Qingtang shook her head. Jiang Yixing and the others wished they could drag Yi Qingtang back. The little monster was absent, and Jiang Yixing, the most powerful among them, had been defeated. How could a rookie like Yi Qingtang possibly be a match for Jiang Yiran? It's up to you. I won't bully you. You can decide how we should compete, Jiang Yiran said graciously. Yi Qingtang thought for a moment and said, just now you compared palm techniques. Now, let's compare finger techniques. Jiang Yiran burst out laughing at Yi Qingtang's words. If his companions had not left with Jiang Yangyun, the surrounding area would be ringing with laughter. You want to compare finger techniques with me? Are you sure? The corners of Jiang Yiran's eyes crinkled with amusement as if he had just heard a really funny joke. Jiang Yixing and his companions went berserk. Yi Qingtang, Jiang Yiran's finger technique is one of the best in Taiyuan Valley. Are you crazy? Don't be a fool. Just hand your allowance over and come away with us. No matter what, others thought that Yi Qingtang was part of their clique. If Jiang Yiran managed to humiliate them again, their reputation would be trampled in the mud. I'm sure. Yi Qingtang nodded. Before Jiang Yu left, he had mostly taught her the finger technique, and that was what she had practiced the most in the two-star constellation world. Alright, since you insist, I won't say anything else lest others say that I bullied you. I'll let you go first. If I move by even an inch, then I'd have lost, Jiang Yiran said patronizingly. Okay. Yi Qingtang nodded. Jiang Yixing and the others were frantic, but they could not dissuade the stubborn Yi Qingtang. Where did Xiao Bai find this crazy girl? It's bad enough that she insisted on walking this fatal road, but she won't listen to our advice at all. Jiang Yiran lazily stood there and tilted his chin, signaling Yi Qingtang to begin. Yi Qingtang slowly stepped forward. She reviewed the scene where Jiang Yu had first demonstrated the finger technique to her. After a moment, she looked up and slowly raised her hand. Her pale, delicate finger slowly pointed outwards and moved unhurriedly towards Jiang Yiran's glabella. Jiang Yiran looked nonchalant as if he was not bothered by Yi Qingtang's move at all. He was inwardly pondering how much allowance he could extort from Jiang Yixing and the others. Just as Jiang Yiran was building castles in the clouds, he suddenly sensed a piercing pain in his glabella. He immediately snapped to attention and saw that Yi Qingtang's fingertip was slowly approaching his glabella. Although she moved slowly, it shocked Jiang Yiran. What is going on? There was nothing special about Yi Qingtang's fingertip, but as she slowly pushed it towards him, the fingers seemed to create a sense of pressure that caused the air to condense. The formless sense of pressure was as sharp as a knife. Jiang Yiran realized that the pain in his glabella was becoming increasingly apparent. It was as if something was piercing his skull. In an instant, his face turned completely pale, and a drop of cold sweat seeped from his forehead. It will kill me. This shocking thought suddenly entered Jiang Yiran's mind. When the Jiang family finger technique was fully exercised, the power of a single finger could kill someone without even touching them. The instant Yi Qingtang's fingertip was about to touch Jiang Yiran's glabella, his face drained of blood, and he instinctively stepped back. Chapter 1637, I Won't Pay, 3. The moment he stepped back, the pressure that surrounded Jiang Yiran instantly vanished, and Yi Qingtang also stopped moving. Jiang Yiran was stunned. Jiang Yixing and the others, who had been so worried, were also shocked. What is going on? Jiang Yiran actually retreated. They had merely seen Yi Qingtang casually point her finger, and very slowly at that. No one had expected this finger to force Jiang Yiran to suddenly retreat. I've won, Yi Qingtang said as she looked at Jiang Yiran's glazed expression. Jiang Yiran came to his senses and looked at Yi Qingtang in surprise. Jiang Yixing and the others, who were standing nearby, also looked baffled. They had no idea what had just transpired. Could it be that Jiang Yiran gave her a chance? Jiang Yiran blinked. He only realized at that moment that he had actually lost. Jiang Yiran's handsome face instantly turned livid. He saw that Jiang Yixing and the others whom he had defeated were looking at him in surprise. Jiang Yiran immediately forced himself to look calm and spoke with a deliberate, arrogant laugh. You're pretty lucky. I've been cultivating for the past few days, and the elder told me I am not allowed to spar for the next few days. I've already broken the elder's rules by fighting with Jiang Yixing just now. I've only just remembered. Jiang Yiran would rather die than admit that Yi Qingtang's finger technique had really forced him to retreat. He found an excuse and pretended to be gracious. You've just entered the valley, and I don't want to earn the reputation of being a bully. You're lucky I'm letting you off this time. I'll waive your allowance. Jiang Yiran's excuse seemed rather bald, but to Jiang Yixing and the others, it was perfectly logical. That's right. How could Yi Qingtang really have defeated Jiang Yiran? So it's because Jiang Yiran was afraid of the elder's strictures. After all, in the eyes of Jiang Yixing and the others, the gap between Yi Qingtang and Jiang Yiran's abilities was so great, it was like a gulf. They would be baffled if she had really won. Not just me, but all of us, Yi Qingtang said suddenly as she looked at Jiang Yiran, who was pretending to stay calm. Jiang Yiran was taken aback. Only then did he recall what he said when he was boasting, and his expression immediately darkened. Who knew that this girl's finger technique would be so strange? If he had known earlier, he would not have competed with her. But he had already put out the terms and could not take them back, so he could only suppress his gloom and say with a smile, "Of course." As he spoke, Jiang Yiran fought back the urge to vomit blood. He now returned the allowance he had just obtained to Jiang Yixing and the others. At that moment, he was incredibly relieved that his companions had left with Jiang Yenyun. If they saw this, his reputation would be in tatters. He hurriedly returned the allowance and left immediately, unwilling to linger. Jiang Yixing and the others, who thought they were in for a bloodletting, looked at the allowance that they had lost and regained. All of them were beaming. They previously had no respect for Yi Qingtang, but now they beamed at her. "Qingtang, many thanks for what you did today." No matter whether Yi Qingtang had won by luck or not, she had gotten their allowances back. They were naturally grateful. The youths who had been unhappy about Yi Qingtang joining their clique now warmed towards her. They cleared their throats and said, "Xiaobai is not here right now, but we're free. We can teach you before the martial arts championship begins." Chapter 1638, Exposed luck could also be considered as a part of skill, but Yi Qingtang's abilities were really negligible. She helped them today, and they decided to pay her back by teaching her some cultivation techniques. Based on their abilities, a few tips would be more than enough for her. Yi Qingtang smiled as the rest offered to teach her some cultivation skills. She excused herself by saying that she had something on and left the place. There were only 4 months to the martial arts championship. The Taiyuan Valley would select the best 20 descendants half a month before and send them to the martial arts championship. Everyone in the Taiyuan Valley would try their best to cultivate and improve for the next 4 months in order to get selected. After she fought against Jiang Yiran the other day, the boys including Jiang Yixing were better to her, just that they always wanted to drag her to the martial art hall to guide her. Yi Qingtang felt hopeless, but she could not refuse their offers. Though Yi Qingtang's cultivation level increased, she was not very familiar with the different techniques. Their invitation helped her familiarize herself with the techniques of the Jiang family. After several months, Yi Qingtang finally met Jiang Xiaobai again. Jiang Xiaobai had been training with elders outside for a period of time, but no one knew how the cultivation was like. Jiang Yixing and the rest were terrified when they heard the news that Jiang Xiaobai was coming back. Qingtang, we still have something on. We shall leave first." Jiang Yixing's face was pale when he heard that Jiang Xiaobai was coming back. He immediately found an excuse and left. If Jiang Xiaobai knew about how he secretly tried to provoke Jiang Yenyun and lost, Jiang Yixing could imagine the pain. The other boys also felt awkward. They found different excuses and escaped. The items that were supposed to be given to Jiang Xiaobai were passed to Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang felt speechless as she stared at them running away from her. She then headed towards Jiang Xiaobai's room. When she arrived outside Jiang Xiaobai's room, her room was not shut. She gently pushed open the door. When she entered the room, she could see a shadow behind the screen. Yi Qingtang walked over as she assumed that it was Jiang Xiaobai. However, Yi Qingtang stoned when she saw Jiang Xiaobai. Jiang Xiaobai was much skinnier after several months of cultivation. Her tiny face appeared even smaller now. She was drying her hair with a towel. Her body was pale and slim, and water droplets could still be seen on her body. However, Yi Qingtang was stunned when she saw Jiang Xiaobai only wearing a pair of pants. Though Jiang Xiaobai was young, her breasts were really flat. Sister Qing. Jiang Xiaobai smiled the moment she saw Yi Qingtang, but her voice felt more like a young man. Wait. Yi Qingtang felt that something was wrong. Though flat breasts were not abnormal, based on Jiang Xiaobai's age, she should not be that. Sister Qing, I'm totally exposed. Jiang Xiaobai suddenly blushed and immediately put on a shirt. She then covered her breast and said, "Don't laugh at me, Sister Qing. I just grow slower than others." Chapter 1639, Insane Luck, 1. Yi Qingtang smiled and blamed herself for thinking too much. She gave Jiang Yixing stuff to Jiang Xiaobai. Jiang Xiaobai asked a few questions, and Yi Qingtang replied accordingly. However, on the second day, Yi Qingtang was stunned when she saw Jiang Yixing and the rest being beaten by someone. Traitor, Jiang Yixing's entire face was swollen. He stared at Yi Qingtang miserably. "Sister Qing, try this. It's delicious." Jiang Xiaobai seemed like she did not see them at all. She passed all the good food to Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang was confused. Did Jiang Xiaobai beat them? Yi Qingtang suddenly understood why Jiang Yixing and the rest looked like they saw a ghost when they knew Jiang Xiaobai was coming back. It is really miserable. As time passed, the martial arts championship was about to be held. Yi Qingtang cultivated every day, but she was stuck at the peak of third heaven and could not progress further. The selection of descendants for the martial arts championship also began in the Taiyuan Valley. The martial arts championship was significant to all ancient clans. Every descendant in the Taiyuan Valley would participate in the selection. Participants would be paired based on drawn lots, and the top 20 would join the martial arts championship. Jiang Yixing and the rest were all prepared, but Jiang Xiaobai did not seem to care. She did not cultivate either. On the day of the selection, Jiang Yixing and the rest were ready early in the morning. They came to look for Yi Qingtang to head to the parade square, but Jiang Xiaobai was still sleeping. When she saw that Yi Qingtang and the rest were ready to leave, she just stood by the door and waved her hands towards them. "All the best, Sister Qing." Yi Qingtang looked at how sleepy Jiang Xiaobai was, but she could not say anything as she was dragged away by Jiang Yixing. "Don't waste time here. We may get better lots if we go earlier." Jiang Yixing dragged Yi Qingtang away. "Is Xiaobai going?" Yi Qingtang was curious. Why does she need to go? Jiang Yanyan and she do not need to attend the selection. They are pre-selected candidates, Jiang Yixing said. Yi Qingtang turned back and looked at Jiang Xiaobai, who was waving at her. She was more curious. She had never seen Jiang Xiaobai revealing her true abilities, but Jiang Yixing and the rest seemed to be afraid of her. With the exception of the elite few, all candidates for the martial arts championship had to be selected. Even Jiang Yiran and Jiang Yixing were not exempt from this rule. Jiang Yanyan was the top in the Taiyuan Valley, so it was normal that he did not need to attend. However, Jiang Xiaobai. Yi Qingtang usually did not walk around in the valley as she spent most of the time cultivating. She was not aware of that. They arrived at the parade square of Taiyuan Valley soon. The elders had been waiting for a while, and Jiang family disciples were all prepared. They were all waiting for the result of lots and could not wait to start their fight. Elder Qian glanced at the crowd and nodded in satisfaction, but he did not pay extra attention to Yi Qingtang when he saw her. Though he had high hopes for her, she was not talented enough. Elder Qian gave her some tips but did not spend much time with her. The lots would be drawn when everyone arrived. Chapter 1640, Insane Luck, 2, many people prayed that they could avoid the top disciples. There were only 20 positions available. Jiang Yangyun and Jiang Xiaobai took 2 of the positions, and they could only fight for the remaining 18 positions. If they encountered Jiang Yixing or Jiang Yiran at the beginning, they would really cry out on the spot. Yi Qingtang stood at the side after drawing her lots. The few young men who were quite close to her also drew their lots. Soon, the elder announced the pairs. The young man beside Yi Qingtang's expression changed when he heard that he was going to fight against Jiang Xinyue. He cried miserably as he stared at his lot. Yi Qingtang had met Jiang Xinyue once. She was able to master advanced sword skills, and she could be ranked as one of the top 10 in the Taiyuan Valley. Doomed. Doomed. Jiang Yixing, is Jiang Xinyue sharpening the sword? The young man said miserably. Even if your opponent was not Jiang Xinyue, you will not be able to enter the top 20. Did you even cultivate every day? Jiang Yixing did not pity him at all. He tilted his head to look at Yi Qingtang's lot. Your opponent is Jiang Lan. Yi Qingtang nodded. Jiang Yixing smiled and tapped Yi Qingtang's shoulder. You're lucky. Jiang Lan is the weird guy in the Taiyuan Valley. He was very talented when he was born, but he wasted his talent as he grew up. Your cultivation in the past few months is good enough to fight him. The other few young men all congratulated her as Yi Qingtang's opponent was the worst disciple in the valley. Soon, the first round started. Yi Qingtang went on the stage and was about to battle Jiang Lan. He was slightly overweight and did not look like someone who practiced martial arts. He was holding a giant hammer and looked clumsy. The battle began. Jiang Lan shouted and smashed his hammer towards Yi Qingtang. His footsteps were messy. Yi Qingtang dodged and kicked his thick back at the next second. With a loud boom, Jiang Lan fell down directly and rolled his eyes. Well done, Qingtang. Jiang Yixing and the rest cheered for her. Yi Qingtang won almost instantly. There were only a few people by the stage. She walked off the stage after her victory. On the high stage, Elder Qian and the rest of the elders all paid attention to battles on every stage. He also took note of Yi Qingtang's side. Elder Qian nodded slightly as she beat Jiang Lan. However, Jiang Lan's ability was extremely low, and the elders had already decided to expel him from the Taiyuan Valley after the selection. Thus, the elders did not care about the result of this battle. The winners drew lots again after the first round. The second round would then begin, and the process would repeat until the top 20 was selected. A few young men who were with Jiang Yixing were unlucky as their opponents were those who were highly ranked in the valley. It was a hard battle for each one of them. However, Yi Qingtang was very lucky. All her opponents were mainly ranked in the bottom in the valley. She did not face any challenges during the battles. Initially, Jiang Yixing and the rest congratulated her on her luck as she always battled the worst ones in the valley. However, after the fifth round, the way they looked at Yi Qingtang changed. Next round will be the round to top 20. Isn't Yi Qingtang way too lucky? Yixing, I heard that Yi Qingtang was brought back by the Domain Monarch founder. Did the elders play some tricks in the lots? One of the young men whispered. His previous opponent was Jiang Yiran, and he failed immediately. Chapter 1641, Insane Luck, 3. Jiang Yixing was also surprised by Yi Qingtang's luck. However, he knew that the elders would not be biased toward anyone when it came to the selection of candidates for the martial arts championship. He shook his head. Yi Qingtang's opponent for the sixth round was quite powerful, but he used up all his energy in the previous round. When he went on the stage, he was breathing heavily. His face was pale and full of sweat. It seemed like he could not even stand straight. Yi Qingtang's 5 opponents were those who were the worst in the valley. She did not require much effort to beat them, so she was still in her best state. With such a huge difference in the physical condition, the man still insisted to fight against Yi Qingtang. However, he ran out of energy after a short while and fell onto the ground. Yi Qingtang won again without surprise. What joke is this? How is it possible? What kind of insane luck she has? She entered the top 20. I can be in the top 20 as well in that case. After 6 rounds, many people were eliminated, but all of them stayed to watch the battles. However, they all complained when they saw Yi Qingtang entered the top 20 just by luck. Jiang Yixing and Jiang Yiran also entered the top 20. Next, it would be the ranking battle between the top 20 candidates. Jiang Yiran glanced at Yi Qingtang. He lost to her last time, and he still remembered that. He rubbed his hands and swore that he would make her pay back if he could encounter Yi Qingtang later. Jiang Yiran's wish came true. When both of them drew the same lot, his smile was savage. He jumped onto the stage and stared at Yi Qingtang aggressively. Little girl, here we meet again. Yi Qingtang walked onto the stage. She could tell how much he wanted to beat her from his aggressiveness. She rolled her eyes slightly and looked towards Jiang Yixing, who was standing below the stage. All candidates in the top 20 can go to the martial arts championship, right? Jiang Yixing did not understand the intention of the question and nodded. Yes, all the top 20 candidates can go. Okay. Yi Qingtang withdrew her sight. She ignored Jiang Yiran, who was standing in front of her, rubbing his hands. Her sight landed on Elder Qian and the rest. I give up. Jiang Yiran's smile froze. The whole parade square was silent. Everyone was stunned as they stared at Yi Qingtang, who gave up before the battle even started. What's going on? She gave up before it even started. What's wrong with her? Her ability is not comparable with Jiang Yiran. Didn't you notice the abilities of her opponents in the previous rounds? She would have been defeated if she didn't have such luck. What the hell? She doesn't feel embarrassed. She entered the top 20 just by luck and gave up when she encountered a more powerful opponent. Is this a joke? All the young men were not happy earlier with Yi Qingtang entering the top 20 just by luck. And now, they all raged. All of them felt that they were more powerful than Yi Qingtang. They were just unlucky and met much more powerful opponents and lost. But such a useless person could enter the top 20 by luck. On what basis? Although the audience cursed and scolded her, Yi Qingtang walked off the stage. Her goal was to get a chance to attend the martial arts championship. She would only use her full strength there. She would not waste her energy here trying to get a better rank. Her initial target was to enter the top 20. Jiang Yiran was stunned as he was prepared to beat Yi Qingtang up. He opened his eyes widely as he stared at Yi Qingtang walking away. Yi Qingtang, are you scared? You're not going to fight me. Jiang Yiran shouted in anger. He really hoped that he could at least punch her once. Yes. Yi Qingtang looked back and answered casually. Jiang Yiran stared blankly. What the hell? Chapter 1642, Forced to Concede, 1. Everyone was shocked after Yi Qingtang suddenly admitted defeat. The top 20 candidates who are going to the martial arts championship represent our Jiang family. Now, there is such a person inside. Won't she ruin our reputation? Elders, Yi Qingtang does not deserve to go to the martial arts championship. Those young men who were defeated earlier were all angry. They hoped that they could fight against Yi Qingtang right now to show her that she did not deserve to go for the martial arts championship. Elder Qian and the rest were also stunned. They did not pay attention to her during the selection, but no one expected that she could be so lucky to enter the top 20 effortlessly. Complaints arose from everywhere. The elders looked towards each other helplessly. The selection is absolutely fair. Luck is also a part of skill. Otherwise, why do we ask you to draw lots? Elder Qian contemplated for a while and stopped the complaints from the audience. But how can Yi Qingtang represent the Jiang family to attend the martial arts championship? Everyone refused to accept that. Is it due to the domain monarch founder that she can be so lucky? Someone murmured. Elder Qian's expression immediately darkened. The young man shut his mouth as he knew that he said something inappropriate. Not only the young men suspected Yi Qingtang's luck, Elder Qian and the rest also held some suspicions. However, the process of drawing lots was open and fair. No one could play any tricks here. They could only admit that Yi Qingtang's luck was insane. Elder Qian's sight landed on Yi Qingtang. He looked at her in a complicated way, but the ranking battles would continue, so he asked everyone to quiet down. Though Jiang Yiran won without any effort, he felt like he had just swallowed a fly. He had no place to vent his anger. He would really fight her in a secret place if he did not have battles ahead. He had met shameless people before, but not someone as shameless as her. Everyone's comments did not affect Yi Qingtang. They would know whether she wasted this position when it came to the martial arts championship. Congratulations, Qingtang. Jiang Yixing smiled and looked at Yi Qingtang sincerely. Elders were right. Luck was a part of skill. Little girl, you're so lucky. You provoked Jiang Yiran earlier on, and now you entered the top 20. Please help if there's going to be some blind drawing rewards. The fight between Jiang Yiran and Yi Qingtang was only known to Jiang Yixing and the few of them. Jiang Yiran would definitely not let the information out. Jiang Yixing and the rest felt that Yi Qingtang was just too lucky, but they were not bothered by that. Yi Qingtang smiled at Jiang Yixing and the rest but did not say anything. Jiang Yixing still had ranking battles later and could not leave now. The rest of the men who lost earlier on all asked Yi Qingtang to treat them to a meal to comfort their loss. Yi Qingtang agreed instantly and treated them to a meal. While halfway through eating, Yi Qingtang was called over by Elder Qian. There were other elders managing the selection, so Elder Qian brought Yi Qingtang to the empty martial hall. Chapter 1643, Forced to Concede, 2. Elder Qian's emotions were in turmoil as he looked at Yi Qingtang, who was standing before him. He had not expected Yi Qingtang to be one of the top 20. Although the rules could not be changed, a lucky dark horse like Yi Qingtang was unexpected. During this period, Elder Qian had given Yi Qingtang a few pointers, but had not paid her much attention. He only knew that she seldom left her room, so she must be diligently cultivating. Elder Qian could not help but sigh softly at this thought. If Yi Qingtang had not been lost and had started cultivating since she was young, this extra time coupled with her diligence would have ensured that her mutant heavenly demon bloodline would not go to waste. But as it was too late. We will soon be heading for the island of immortal footsteps. The martial arts championship will be held on the island. You've only just arrived in Taiyuan Valley and are not yet familiar with the various Jiang family martial skills. In the next few days, you must work hard and practice these cultivation techniques, Elder Qian said with a soft sigh. They had no choice but to make a frantic, last-minute effort. The top youths of all the major clans would be participating in the martial arts championship. Even talents like Jiang Yenyun might not win. Right now, Elder Qian could only pray that Yi Qingtang would not lose too badly in the martial arts championship and ruin the Jiang family's reputation. Yes. Yi Qingtang replied. Elder Qian had always been pleased with Yi Qingtang's conscientious attitude. At the moment, the more profound cultivation techniques were not suitable for Enchanting. Instead, he carefully taught Enchanting the Jiang family movement technique. He told her to study it carefully and practice hard for the next few days. She could not defeat her opponents with her powers, but at least she would not lose too badly in the arena. Elder Qian meant well. If the domain monarch founder were in the valley, he would not need to worry about Enchanting, but now that the domain monarch founder had left, he would have to take care of Enchanting. Elder Qian taught her in detail, and Enchanting studied diligently. Of the Jiang family techniques, she was best at the finger technique. She was not very familiar with palm technique, sword technique, and movement technique. So she seized the opportunity and did not dare to slack off at all. Her goal was to participate in the martial arts championship and place high enough to enter the mystic realm to look for clues about her mother. That was what Enchanting really needed. For fully half a day, Elder Qian pointed out the flaws in Enchanting's movement technique. Enchanting learned quickly and swiftly grasped the areas she had previously overlooked. Elder Qian was pleased with her progress. He thought that with Enchanting's bloodline and ability to quickly grasp onto new techniques, it was a pity that she had been lost and wasted her opportunity. Enchanting only left Elder Qian when night fell. On her way back, Enchanting met many youths who frowned and looked disdainful when they saw her. Is she fit to participate in the martial arts championship? I wonder if someone fiddled with the lots. The elders may say that they were fair, but she was brought here by the domain monarch founder. Elder Qian is right. Luck is part of skill. A pity that we aren't as lucky as someone to be favored by the domain monarch founder. A few youths did not hide their contempt for Enchanting. They felt that if Enchanting had not been lucky enough to make the ranking, they might have had a chance to be one of the top 20. Chapter 1644, Forced to Concede, 3. People were often like that. When they did not do well, they could not bear to see things go smoothly for someone else. Especially if it was someone that they felt was inferior to them, that made it even more difficult for them to accept. Enchanting ignored their sarcastic remarks. She paid no more attention to them than she would to a fly buzzing in her ear. But the youths were even more enraged when Enchanting ignored them. Their expressions were malicious as they blocked her way. Enchanting, you're pretty hardworking. Did you just leave the practice arena? With your standards, even if you manage to crawl into the martial arts championship, you will be defeated in the first round. You better put in some last-minute work. But, isn't it too late to pretend to be diligent now? Get lost. Enchanting glared coldly at the youths who were blocking her way. Oh, hot-tempered, are we? Do you really think you're better than us just because you managed to enter the martial arts championship by dumb luck? If you want my opinion, the smart thing to do is to trot over to the elders and remove yourself from the quota. Otherwise, no matter how lucky you are, anyone will smash you to smithereens once you're in the martial arts championship arena. When that happens, you better not cry in the arena and embarrass the Jiang family. A few youths spoke maliciously. They were unable to take this lying down, and their deepest desire now was to fling the most vicious words they could find at this young girl. Enchanting narrowed her eyes. However, before she could make any move, a petite figure slowly approached in the moonlight. If you dare to make trouble for my elder sister Qing, I will leave you crying here right now. A slightly amused voice reached their ears. Enchanting turned towards the voice. At some point, Jiang Xiaobai had appeared on the road ahead. Her lips were smiling, and her shining eyes were crinkled in amusement. She looked straight at the youths who were blocking the way. The moment the aggressive youths saw Jiang Xiaobai, their expressions changed. They could not help but look somewhat panicked. Jiang Shaobai walked over to Yi Qingtang slowly and smilingly took her small hand. Then, she looked up at the pitch-black sky and slowly said, "It's a dark and windy night." Then, she moved his gaze downward a little and looked at the youths. "Isn't there a saying that a dark and windy night is a good night for killing someone? I think it refers to a night like this, right?" The youths instantly felt a chill spreading through their body. All of them gulped involuntarily. Damn it, how could they have forgotten this fellow? They had often seen Jiang Shaobai and Yi Qingtang together. Jiang Shaobai had been absent for a few months, and they had completely forgotten about this killing monster. "Ah, Shaobai, we have something to do. We'd better go." A few of the youths saw that matters were not going well and decided to get away as soon as possible. Jiang Shaobai raised a single hand and blocked their way. "You bothered my elder sister Qing for so long. Where do you think you're going without an apology?" The youths turned pale. They glanced at Jiang Shaobai and Yi Qingtang. After some deliberation, they forced themselves to say to Yi Qingtang, "Sorry, we've drunk too much today and spoke amiss. Yi Qingtang, please don't take it to heart. Alcohol is bad for you. You should be more careful. It would be a pity if you drank yourself to death," Jiang Shaobai said with a smile. Chapter 1645, Forced to Concede. 4. To the youths, seeing Jiang Shaobai's brilliant smile was like catching sight of an evil ghost. They shivered all over and quickly lowered their heads and slunk away. Yi Qingtang looked at Jiang Shaobai, who had stood up for her, and a trace of a smile surfaced in her eyes. For a moment it was as if she was looking at the former Xianling sect, the former Falling Sky Valley, and her senior brothers who squabbled violently but always cared for each other. The once familiar faces had now vanished. The countless living things and those kindly faces had all been destroyed by the ancient Yu clan. Yi Qingtang's eyes dimmed. Her desire to get everything back from the ancient Yu clan grew even stronger. "Father, Master. Wait a while. I will certainly save you." Her road ahead was a lonely one. Yi Qingtang had long been used to facing everything alone, mockery, abuse, contempt. She paid no heed to any of these. On a road strewn with obstacles, her sole goal was to rescue the one she once knew. Now, Yi Qingtang could not help but be warmed by Jiang Shaobai's protectiveness. "Elder sister Qing, are you still angry? If you're still angry, I'll catch them and beat them up for you," Jiang Shaobai said with a smile. Her bright eyes shone in the moonlight. Yi Qingtang subconsciously reached out and patted Jiang Shaobai's fluffy head. For a moment, Jiang Shaobai's smile froze, and a faint blush surfaced on her face. She lowered her head in some embarrassment. Gone was her previous impish look. "Thank you." Yi Qingtang and Jiang Shaobai walked away in the moonlight without noticing two figures hiding in the darkness. What does Jiang Shaobai see in that girl? She's guarded her so closely ever since she entered the valley. Sitting in the fork of a tree, Jiang Yiran was chewing on a stalk of grass as he looked at the two disappearing figures in bewilderment. Jiang Yanyan was standing under the tree, his hands behind his back. However, his eyes were fixed on Jiang Shaobai's figure. "Elder brother Yun, what do you think that Jiang Shaobai has been doing outside with the elder? Do you think it's about some special cultivation technique?" Jiang Yiran lowered his head to talk to Jiang Yanyan, who was standing under the tree. Jiang Yanyan's expression was remote as he glanced at Jiang Yiran. "If you don't have anything better to do, why not go back and cultivate?" Jiang Yiran's face turned pale as he was scolded, but he was used to it. "Elder brother Yun, I came in 5th this time." "That's pretty good," Jiang Yanyan grunted coldly. Jiang Yiran subconsciously drew back and said, "I'm just concerned for you." Jiang Yiran spoke guiltily. The truth was that he had been looking for an opportunity to torment Yi Qingtang to relieve some of his resentment, but he had unexpectedly run into Jiang Yanyan. Fortunately, Jiang Yanyan's presence had prevented him from making trouble for Yi Qingtang. Otherwise, if Jiang Xiaobai had seen him, Jiang Yiran sensed a chill prickling up his neck. I just don't understand what that fellow, Jiang Xiaobai, is up to. But anyway, Yi Qingtang will be utterly crushed in the martial arts championship. Then, Jiang Xiaobai will also be embarrassed. Unlike you, elder brother Yun, not everyone is surrounded by people as capable as I am. Jiang Yanyan turned to leave even before Jiang Yiran could finish speaking. Jiang Yiran was left alone in the tree to feed the mosquitoes. Hey, elder brother Yun, wait for me. I'm not too familiar with the technique that the elder taught us just now. Can you help me with it over the next few days? Elder brother Yun. Jiang Yiran shouted as he hurried after Jiang Yanyan. Chapter 1646, Island of Immortal Footsteps. 1. The days flew by, and very soon, the 20 youths chosen from Taiyuan Valley were about to depart for the Island of Immortal Footsteps to take part in the Martial Arts Championship. Since morning, everyone was ready to set off, and the floating ship in the sky was ready to be boarded. Under the elders' directions, the 20 youths boarded the ship successively and began their journey to the Island of Immortal Footsteps. Various clans had set sail as well. The Island of Immortal Footsteps floated above the dangerous waters and was inaccessible using any sea routes. Only by taking the floating boat would people be able to cross the seas and arrive at the place. As the martial arts championship drew near, the sky above the Island of Immortal Footsteps was docked with the floating ships of various clans. The owner of the Island of Immortal Footsteps was a mystery, and barely anyone was aware of his identity to date. When the Jiang family's floating ship arrived at the Island of Immortal Footsteps, the youths on the ship could not hold themselves back from looking at the island that was surrounded by many clouds. It was their first time to step into this battleground of the ancient clans. Once the floating ship docked, everyone alighted successively. Yi Qingtang gazed at the Island of Immortal Footsteps before her. In both lifetimes, this was the first time she came here. Jiang Xiaobai was beside Yi Qingtang, but she seemed to be uninterested in everything here. After stretching her body, she clung onto Yi Qingtang as she poked the little white tiger's bottom every now and then. Fuck you. Shameless. Various clans had already arrived at the Island of Immortal Footsteps, and these top-tier clans of the central mainland led the most outstanding youths of their clans to assemble. Elder Qian and the other Jiang family elders were getting in touch with islanders when an enormous and elegant floating ship docked in the skies, and a group of youths in gorgeous outfits flew down from the floating ship. It's the Qiu clan. Elder Kuan mumbled to Elder Qian when he saw the outfit of those people. Elder Qian nodded slightly, but before he could reply, the elders of the Qiu clan walked over. Elder Qian, it's been a while. The Qiu clan elder smiled as his elegant robe glistened in the sunlight and blinded everyone. Elder Qian gave a light nod politely. Yi Qingtang's attention landed on the people of the Qiu clan. The Qiu clan was one of the finest ancient clans in the central mainland. However, there seemed to be some enmity between the Qiu clan and the Jiang family. Back then, there were various top clans and numerous supreme figures in the central mainland, and every clan went all out to attain the title of the domain monarch. Back then, the Qiu clan was one of the strongest opponents of the Jiang family in contesting for the domain monarch position. However, the domain monarch founder was extremely skilled, and he defeated all the top cultivators of the Qiu clan to secure the position as the domain monarch. Over these few years, the Qiu clan invested all their efforts in nurturing talented youths and had been showing signs of making a comeback. As Yi Qingtang's eyes scanned across the youths of the Qiu clan, she noticed a beautiful girl who looked down shyly and followed behind an elder. Her behavior resembled that of a budding, frail flower that appeared pitiful in all angles, completely unlike someone who was here to participate in the martial arts championship. Elder Qian, I heard that the Jiang family gained a little extraordinary talent a few years ago. I have not congratulated you on that yet, Elder Qiu said with a smile. Although it seemed like a compliment, there was no trace of sincerity in his eyes. You're too kind. Elder Qian replied in a collected manner. Chapter 1647, Island of Immortal Footsteps. 1. Elder Qian, you're too kind. The extraordinary talents from all clans will be participating in the martial arts championship this year. I'm looking forward to a spar between the younger generation of our Qiu clan and Jiang Yenyun, as well as that little extraordinary talent of your Jiang family. However, I hope that they can last until they face the Qius. It would be very regrettable if they lose from the start and have to withdraw from the competition, Elder Qian said meaningfully. Elder Qian's expression immediately darkened. The younger generation of the Jiang family had not attained any good results in the martial arts championship in recent years. In contrast, the Qiu clan produced quite a number of impressive talents who attained pretty good results. The Qiu clan's youths improved at a shocking rate and had embarrassed many of Jiang family's youths in the past few years of the martial arts championship. This led the Qiu family elders to become increasingly arrogant. Elder Qiu, the Jiang family is the domain monarch's clan. There's no need for you to worry about not having a chance to spar with them. A voice suddenly rang as an elderly in green walked over, beaming, with a group of youths behind him. Elder Bailey. Elder Qiu immediately laughed after seeing who it was. The incomer was an elder of the Bailey clan. In the previous martial arts championship, the Qiu clan and Bailey clan had an exciting match. I wonder who will win the title this year. I'm really looking forward to the competition between our two clans, Elder Qiu said with a smile. Ha! Of course, the Bailey clan elder agreed with a smile. As the two echoed after each other, the expression of Elder Qian and the rest grew ugly. For both the Qiu clan and Bailey clan, the youths that they sent to participate in the martial arts championship were very outstanding. While the Jiang family's domain monarch title must not be challenged, the youths of both clans were evidently impressive and had caused the Jiang family to suffer a few times. Each top clan had its own edge in the martial arts championship, but the Jiang family did not perform too well in the past few years. The Jiang family regarded this year's martial arts championship very highly as well. If there were no sufficiently powerful youths to support the Jiang family for a long time, it would be hard to secure the domain monarch position as well. After all, each new generation replaced the previous one. That is Bailey Shi. Jiang Yiran spotted a tall and slender figure in the group of youths of the Bailey clan. He was a gorgeous male, his look stood out from the crowd, and his calm expression complemented his tall figure, yet there was something distant about him. Who is Bailey Shi? A youth from the Jiang family asked curiously. Jiang Yiran said, You don't know him. He was the champion in the martial arts championship last year. I didn't expect him to come again this year. When he participated in the martial arts championship last time, he was the youngest contestant, but even so, he defeated all the opponents and claimed the champion title. I thought he would not come this year. Jiang Yiran could not help but look toward Jiang Yenyun and Jiang Xiaobai. These were the two most powerful youths in the Jiang family, but should they meet Bailey Shi, a rare and exceptional talent, what were their chances of winning? Qiu Chen came as well. Jiang Yiran looked toward the Qiu clan side and instinctively frowned once he spotted the arrogant and frivolous youth. Qiu Chen, the top talent of the Qiu clan. A Jiang family youth was slightly taken aback. Chapter 1648, Island of Immortal Footsteps. 3. With a glance, the Jiang family youths noticed many other extraordinary talents in the other ancient clans. They were about the same age as them, but many of them had already established a name for themselves. Iran, you don't seem to be very fond of Qiu Qin. Someone sensed the change in Jiang Iran's expression after seeing Qiu Qin. Jiang Iran tugged his lips and replied, "No. I like him to death." Qiu Qin seemed to have sensed Jiang Iran's gaze as well, and he smirked nonchalantly when he looked over. Jiang Iran almost flared up. This fellow seriously deserves a beating. If I could defeat him, I would have beaten him to a pulp, Jiang Iran said with gritted teeth. He met Qiu Qin once and was completely thrashed by Qiu Qin. As Jiang Iran had always been a prideful person, he was extremely infuriated upon meeting his enemy now. Jiang Yangyun cast a glance at the furious Jiang Iran and subsequently looked away. The Qiu clan and Bailey clan echoed after each other, and although their words seemed very courteous on the surface, they were filled with mockery. Elder Qian and the rest were very displeased, but it was not the right place to act up. On the other hand, the talented youths of the Jiang family were shooting lasers with their eyes at the other two ancient clans as they were young and had never experienced such ridicule before. That Qiu clan elder is so annoying. He has the audacity to bark here, but if he meets the domain monarch, I think he can't even laugh then. Jiang Yixing was extremely irritated with the other two ancient clans. Although there were many talented people in the younger generation of the Jiang family, there were only a rare few who were outstanding, and the numerous defeats that the Jiang family suffered only served to fuel the arrogance of the other top ancient clans. Yi Qingtang maintained an indifferent expression as she watched the situation before her. She was very clear that unless the Jiang family had enough numbers of powerful talents to suppress the other clans in the martial arts championship, the other ancient clans would just become increasingly arrogant. It's late already, and they still need to rest. Elder Qian, we will not disturb you anymore. Please take care of us if we meet in the martial arts championship in the next few days. Elder Qiu laughed heartily and chatted with the Bailey clan elder for a while before leaving. Elder Qian only managed to suppress his fury after exerting tremendous willpower. Then, he immediately led the youths of the Jiang family deeper into the island of immortal footsteps for the island servants to arrange their lodging. There were still a few days before the martial arts championship began, and a few ancient clans still had not arrived. Not long after they were allowed to rest, Jiang Xiaobai immediately looked for Yi Qingtang to explore the island. Two other familiar-looking youths came along. Just like that, a group of 4 strolled around the island. I heard that the owner of this island of immortal footsteps is extremely mysterious. Apart from the martial arts championship where it is open to the public for a period of time, this place cannot be found in the rest of the year even if one knows where this island is located. I heard from those who came here before that there were many mysterious cave abodes on this island. I wonder what exactly is inside though. The owner does not seem to encourage us to walk around the island either. Why don't we look for treasures during this period of time instead? The two youths began mumbling about the rumors surrounding this island. Only the top 10 contestants of the martial arts championship could enter the mystic realm, and these 10 people would definitely be the top talents of various ancient clans. Chapter 1649, See You in the Arena. 1. They were among the bottom of the top 20 from the Jiang family and were basically there to gain some experience, spar with their peers, and join in the fun. Don't make silly suggestions. I've heard there are few restrictions on the island. If you accidentally enter some forbidden ground, you'll have no hope of leaving it alive. Many fools like you are lost on the island during each martial arts championship. As they walked, they saw a group of people up ahead who seemed to be gathered around something. They walked closer only to see a dozen youths from the Qiu family. They were gathered together and seemed to be cursing at something. In the middle of the group stood the figures of some Jiang family members. Is that Jiang Yixing? How did he encounter these Zhou family members? The low-ranking youth standing next to Enchanting asked curiously when he saw what was going on. They had been planning to ask Jiang Yixing to join them but could not find him. They had not expected to run into him here. Enchanting narrowed her eyes. Jiang Xiaobai, who was standing next to her, lost her amused expression. Is this all the Jiang family is capable of? Doesn't seem like much. In our Zhou family, you wouldn't even be able to crawl into the island of immortal footsteps with your lousy skills. What's the matter? Did I say something wrong? Aren't we allowed to point out your Jiang family's incompetence? A youth from the Zhou family said sarcastically. Jiang Yixing and the other Jiang family youths who were surrounded looked furious. Jiang Yixing had been planning to look for Jiang Xiaobai and Enchanting, but along the way, he saw that a few Jiang family youths, whom he knew, were quarreling with some members of the Zhou family. He had approached to see what was going on. However, he had not expected these Zhou family youths to be so rude. They had heaped scorn on Jiang Yixing's head, so he had started to fight them. The two sides were evenly matched in terms of numbers, and their skills were on par, but a big group of Zhou family members had unexpectedly arrived soon after the fight started. This had forced Jiang Yixing and the rest into an embarrassing situation. After a while, Jiang Yixing and the others were all wounded. They were outnumbered, and the situation did not look good. I think all of you are begging for a beating. You can't even wait for the martial arts championship to officially begin before looking for a beating. Don't embarrass yourselves at the martial arts championship with your poor skills. Get lost and crawl back to your Jiang family before you completely ruin the last of your domain monarch's reputation, the youths from the Zhou family said, roaring with laughter. What are you saying? I'll fight you to the death. Jiang Yixing was infuriated. He swung his fist at that person's face. A few Zhou family members held Jiang Yixing down and punched him viciously in the stomach. Jiang Yixing turned pale from the beating. You have such lousy skills, yet you still dare to display them in front of me. Looks like you don't want your arms anymore. Break his arms. I would like to see how he participates in the martial arts championship with broken arms. A cold light flashed across the Zhou family youth's eyes. Many of the youths from the various ancient clans could not stand each other, and they often brawled during each martial arts championship. But it was not a big deal even if they lost. It just showed that their skills were inferior. But now these Zhou family youths were about to deal brutally with Jiang Yixing and the other Jiang family youths. Chapter 1650, See You in the Arena, 2, a figure suddenly appeared before Jiang Yixing and the Zhou family youths. The next moment, the two youths holding down Jiang Yixing were sent flying with a kick. Jiang Yixing was shocked. Only then did he realize that it was Jiang Xiaobai who had appeared. Xiaobai. Jiang Xiaobai was smiling brilliantly as usual, but there was no amusement in her eyes. She narrowed her eyes and swept a glance over the Zhou family members that were present. Her eyes were frosty. Another one looking to die. Get her. The Zhou family youths did not care who she was. They would rely on their superior numbers to teach them a lesson. One of the youths tried to take the opportunity to ambush Jiang Xiaobai from behind, but before he could get close, Enchanting suddenly appeared and threw him over her shoulder. He was sent flying. Enchanting, Jiang Yixing could not help but feel emotional when Jiang Xiaobai and Enchanting suddenly appeared. Elder brother Yi, we're here to help you. Well, kill them. The two youths who were with Enchanting and Jiang Xiaobai rolled up their sleeves and rushed in. They were all hot-blooded youths. They could not restrain their anger when they saw their family members being beaten up. The appearance of Enchanting and her companions rescued Jiang Yixing and the others from their dangerous situation. The two sides were ready to give tit for tat, and a bloody battle was imminent. "What are you doing?" A low shout suddenly entered their ears. When the group of Chiu family youths heard the voice, they froze and turned towards the sound. A displeased-looking Chiu Chin was slowly walking towards them together with a refined and gentle-looking youth. "Chiu Chin, we tried to make allowances, but they would have none of it." Chiu Chin frowned and slapped the talkative youth. The youth's face turned bright red from the blow, but he just covered his face and did not dare to make a sound. He lowered his head guiltily. "Elder asked you to quickly rectify the situation, not waste your time with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. If you're not serious about joining the martial arts championship, you better get lost. Don't stay here and embarrass the Chiu family." Chiu Chin berated them coldly. The group of Chiu family youths all shook in their shoes. No one dared to show any signs of their temper. The gentle-looking youth next to Chiu Chin smiled. His gaze swept across the Chiu family members, Enchanting, and the others. When he saw the injuries that Jiang Yixing and the others had sustained, he immediately understood what had happened. He stepped forward and spoke with a smile. "I'm sorry. They just got to the island and are rather worked up. They could not control their strength and injured our friends from the Jiang family." As he spoke, he glanced at the Chiu family youths and said, "Your priorities are all wrong. If you injure them before the martial arts championship, the Jiang family will have fewer participants. How will they safeguard their domain monarch's reputation then?" The gentle-looking youth seemed to be rebuking his companions, but he implied that the Jiang family was no match for them. His attitude was condescending and dismissive. "Chiu Heung, what are you saying? If your Chiu family had not relied on superior numbers, you might be the one lying on the ground now." Jiang Yixing was instantly furious. The youth named Chiu Heung simply smiled and did not reply. When Chiu Chin heard Jiang Yixing's words, he smiled arrogantly. "There's safety in numbers. But I'll give you a chance. If you can beat me, I'll admit that our Chiu family relied on superior numbers to bully you." Chapter 1651, See You in the Arena, 3U. Jiang Yixing was quivering with rage, but another Jiang family youth held him back. In the Chiu family, Chiu Chen was the most powerful member of his generation. Jiang Yixing was certainly no match for him. "What's the matter? Are you afraid?" Chiu Chen laughed softly. "If you can't beat us, you should just admit it. There's no need for all this bluff and bluster. Your Jiang family has not beaten the Chiu family in the martial arts championship for many years." Jiang Yixing wished he could go and punch Chiu Chen in the mouth. Jiang Xiaobai suddenly stepped forward and stood smilingly in front of Chiu Chen. "If you want to fight, I can play with you." "Xiaobai." Jiang Yixing was startled. Chiu Chen could not help but frown when he saw Jiang Xiaobai. He was about to say something when he suddenly heard a mocking laugh. "Hey, what is the Chiu family up to? Are they planning to spar with the Jiang family before the martial arts championship?" "Sure. I happen to be free right now. Let's play together." At some point, Jiang Yiran had appeared in the vicinity. With him were Jiang Yenyun and a dozen other Jiang family youths. Chiu Chen narrowed his eyes. The spirit energy around him began to ripple. Next to him, Chiu Haiyang's expression also flickered. He secretly caught hold of Chiu Chen's wrist and shook his head. "Jiang Xiaobai and Jiang Yenyun are both here. The Jiang family greatly outnumbers us. If we really fight, neither side will be at an advantage. If the elder finds out," Chiu Haiyang said softly. "Do you think I'm afraid of them? So what if Jiang Yenyun and Jiang Xiaobai are here?" Chiu Chen said coldly. Chiu Haiyang whispered in Chiu Chen's ear. Qiu Chen's gaze swept over the crowd, and he spotted a shy figure on a nearby beach. This was the young girl who had hid behind the Qiu family elder. At that moment, the girl was walking towards them. She had a nervous expression and did not dare to look at the Jiang family. She only lowered her head and sneaked a glance at Qiu Chen and the others. Elder said, "We are not to get into fights." A sharp look flashed across Qiu Chen's eyes, but he suppressed his rage and raised his head to look at Jiang Yenyun and Jiang Xiaobai. "I'm not interested in sparring with you. If you aren't reconciled to your defeat, you can beat me in the martial arts championship arena. As long as someone in the Jiang family can beat me, I will publicly admit that I was at fault. If you can't, then if we ever encounter each other on the island of immortal footsteps, you must keep far away from me. Don't worry. Elder brother Yun certainly won't kill you in the arena. He'll leave you with at least one last breath," Jiang Yiran said with a cold laugh. Qiu Chen grunted coldly. Then, he led the rest of the Qiu family group and turned to leave. The shy girl from the Qiu family silently bowed her head and followed them. As she was leaving, she cast a quick glance at the little white tiger, who was in Yi Qingtang's arms. How infuriating. Those bastards from the Qiu family are asking for it. Jiang Yixing glared at the departing figures of the Qiu family. He gritted his teeth in rage. Forget it. Look, your face is all swollen from your beating. If you could really beat them, would you have been beaten up so badly? Jiang Yiran glanced at the bruises on Jiang Yixing's face and spoke bluntly. They relied on their superior numbers to bully us. If it was a one-on-one fight, I would not be afraid of them. Humph. You go challenge Qiu Qin or Qiu Heiyang and see what happens then. Jiang Yiran crossed his arms. You. Shut up. Jiang Yenyun looked frosty. Are you done? If you are, you better go back and cultivate. Chapter 1652, See You in the Arena, 4. Jiang Yiran raised his brows smugly. Jiang Yixing was so angry his knuckles cracked as he clenched his fists. Jiang Yenyun swept a look at Jiang Yiran's smug expression and said frostily, "You were the one who wanted to save them. Now, you're the one making trouble." Jiang Yiran had been the first to notice that Yi Qingtang and the others were fighting with the Qiu family. He had rolled up his sleeves and rushed over. "I can't bear the sight of that Qiu Qin," Jiang Yiran said guiltily. No matter what differences they and Jiang Xiaobai's clique had in Taiyuan Valley, once outside the valley, they were one united body. They represented the entire Jiang family. Of course, he could not restrain himself when he saw his own family members being bullied. "I haven't had an opportunity to punch that girl. With her poor skills, I think she'll be punched half dead if it came to a real fight. Then, I won't be able to punch her anymore." Jiang Yiran immediately pointed at Yi Qingtang and found an excuse for himself. Yi Qingtang, who had been targeted out of the blue, stared at him blankly. How petty was he that he was still thinking of punching her? Jiang Yenyun glared at Jiang Yiran. He ignored Jiang Yiran's excuse and looked straight at Jiang Xiaobai. "What do you think of the Qiu family?" Jiang Xiaobai's eyes had lost their chilly look. She lazily hooked her arms around Yi Qingtang's shoulders and was practically hanging onto the ladder. "They're too ugly. I couldn't bear to look at them." Jiang Yenyun drew a breath and said, "Pay close attention to that young girl during the martial arts championship." Jiang Yenyun spoke meaningfully. A strange look flashed across Jiang Xiaobai's eyes, but she did not say anything. Jiang Yiran and Jiang Yixing squabbled a bit more before they went their separate ways. Fortunately, Jiang Yixing and the others had only received superficial wounds. They would recover with some medication. The group had been planning to explore the island of immortal footsteps, but now they had no choice but to return to their residence and get some medicine for Jiang Yixing and the others. On the way back, they met Bailey Shi, of the Bailey family, and a young girl. Unlike the arrogant Qiu Chen from the Qiu family, Bailey Shi did not notice that they were passing by. He merely patiently bowed his head and looked tenderly at the frail young girl next to him. He treated her with great care. The handsome king of hell, Bailey Shi, has a tender side. I must be seeing things. Jiang Yixing turned to see the two figures, who were slowly moving away. Handsome King of Hell was the nickname that Bailey Shi had earned at the previous martial arts championship. He had been the youngest participant that year but had viciously suppressed all his opponents with his thunderbolt-like moves. Bailey Shi might look handsome and remote, but he was brutal in the arena like a devil who had crawled out of hell. He had even killed several of his opponents in the arena. Xiao Bai, how confident are you of winning a match against Bailey Shi? Jiang Yixing asked curiously. He naturally overlooked Yi Qingtang and the others. Jiang Xiaobai leaned on Yi Qingtang. She looked at Jiang Yixing's bruised but inquisitive face and simply pinched his cheek. Jiang Yixing howled in pain. I should have let the Qiu family kill you just now. SSS, the pain is killing me. Jiang Yixing rubbed his face with an injured air. He did not know what went wrong. Yi Qingtang, who was standing next to her, secretly sighed. She glanced at Bailey Shi. In her previous life, Yi Qingtang had heard some rumors about Bailey Shi. Bailey Shi was ranked among the top 10 of Central Mainland's talents. And the girl next to Bailey Shi was his twin sister. Chapter 1653, See You in the Arena, 5, She looked around. The martial arts championship had not yet begun, but many of the highly talented younger generation from the ancient clans had arrived. Be it Qiu Chen or Bailey Shi, they were all exceptionally rare talents. But what bothered Yi Qingtang the most about this martial arts championship was the absence of the ancient Yu clan. The ancient Yu clan should also be participating in the martial arts championship, but this time, they seemed to have no intention of coming. Once the ancient Yu clan began controlling Little Yu Yun, they had become more and more ambitious. Yi Qingtang's current goal was to enter the mystic realm to look for clues about her mother. At the same time, she wanted to gain even more power from the mystic realm. But after encountering the experts of the younger generation from the various ancient clans, Yi Qingtang did not dare to slack off in her cultivation. Yi Qingtang finally calmed herself down after returning to her room. She sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. She was at the peak of the third heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. She had remained there for some time, but still showed no sign of breaking through to the next level. She could clearly sense that she was just a step away from the fourth heaven, but could not understand why it was much more difficult to pass this stage than it had been to level up previously. For a few days, Yi Qingtang remained in her room and concentrated on cultivating. Even if Jiang Yixing and the others asked her to go out, she tactfully refused. If she was unable to enter the top 10 of the martial arts championship, her 6 months of hard work would be wasted. Over the past few days, there was much friction among the younger members of the ancient clans. They were all hot-blooded youths. They already could not stand each other, and now that they kept encountering each other on the island, they would fly into a rage and end up in a fight. However, Jiang Yangyun and Jiang Xiaobai seemed to have come to a consensus on this matter. Both of them warned the other youths not to fight before the martial arts championship officially began. This kept the Jiang family youths out of trouble. The days passed swiftly. Soon, it was time for the official opening of the martial arts championship. The various ancient clans gathered together, bringing with them their most outstanding youths to compete in the arena. The noise was deafening as the youths rubbed their hands and cracked their knuckles, preparing for a fight. The martial arts championship was arranged by drawing lots. One needed both skill and luck. If someone met the most powerful opponent in the first round, they would have no hope of reaching the top 10, even if they were the second most powerful participant. Jiang Yixing grabbed hold of Enchanting while the lots were being drawn, hoping that some of her luck would rub off on him. Enchanting did not know whether to laugh or to cry. The huge martial arts arena was crowded with people. The youths who were drawing lots waited quietly on one side for their opponent to appear. At that moment, the elders of the various ancient clans were all waiting solemnly. Elder Qian and the other Jiang family elders were focused on Jiang Xiaobai and Jiang Yenyun. They were the Jiang family's best hope of winning this championship. Their performance would determine whether the Jiang family could hold its head up high during this martial arts championship. Elder Qian and the others felt that Enchanting had entered the martial arts championship by luck, so they paid no attention to her. The other Jiang family youths also showed no interest in her. Only Jiang Yixing, Jiang Xiaobai, and a few others who were close to Enchanting showed some concern for her. However, Jiang Yixing and the others felt that no matter which lot Enchanting drew, the outcome would not be positive. After all, she had only returned to the Jiang family as a teenager and had only been in Taiyuan Valley for half a year. How could she possibly achieve several victories in this championship when so many were vying for the top? You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.